Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Buckle Up Babes podcast. Today I am joined by my sister from the same mister, Peyton.
Hi, everybody.
Peyton, I cannot tell you the depths to which I dove in the deepest of dives for today's episode.
Say more.
Oh, I shall. Now, I was not going to talk about this, even though I had lots of thoughts, because I wasn't sure what was going on with this woman. But after multiple comment requests, including DMs, which I take much more seriously, I have caved. And here we are. If you haven't guessed what I'm talking about, today we are talking about Kendra, who's in love with her psychiatrist.
Her full government name, as it is known.
Yes, legally. From henceforth she shall be known.
As Kendra, who's in love with her psychiatrist.
Here's the deal, friends. I, even with all the requests, was not going to do this topic until I did a little more research. And the only reason I'm choosing to do it is because I feel like people are missing a huge chunk of the story with Kendra. Because so many people want to jump on the fact that she's potentially unwell, that she may have psychological issues, and almost excusing her behavior because of this, or saying, well, we shouldn't talk about this. And I actually disagree. First off, I would never diagnose someone from online videos.
Correct.
But secondly, I have known a lot of Kendras. Peyton can concur. She has met a lot of Kendras as well. The type of person I'm talking about is white women, predominantly, in the spiritual realm, whether that is they are yoga teachers, they are life coaches, they lead meditations, they are practitioners of Reiki or whatever else, who are so self-focused and self-absorbed, in my opinion, that they get to the degree of excusing all of their behavior based on their own sense of entitlement and importance. Thoughts?
No, I mean, it's a very interesting breed of white woman that still baffles me to this day.
It is quite baffling. And they are always the ones who think they are not the ones.
Yeah,
They're the good ones.
They are always the exception, when being
Yes.
the exception makes you exceptional.
Oh my God. If Kendra had a tagline, always the exception, if being the exception makes you exceptional. Holy shit, Peyton.
Happy to help.
You can't top me already. You can't have better lines than me before we start.
But I mean, that really is what it is.
Yes.
Like, if it's something that makes you special and unique and amazing, they want to be that. But if it's something that draws any negativity, they deny it or obfuscate or conform to enough of a degree that they don't get backlash.
No, yeah, I totally agree. As we're going through this, I want you to recognize the harm that she is causing. Because even if she has mental health issues, which, hey, your girl's got multiple diagnoses. I got them in spades, baby. Like, what do you want? What do you like?
We got all kinds of letters.
I got letters for days, and not just the LGBTQIA plus.
She's in the other alphabet mafia.
I'm in all the alphabet mafias. I'm in multiple crime syndicates. Anyways, my point is, it is never an excuse for bad behavior. And the thing is, it's one thing to have viewpoints that are unhealthy for yourself. It's another thing when you then force those viewpoints on other people, when you coach people.
Especially vulnerable people.
100%. So that is what I want to focus on as we go through this, really recognizing the harm that she is doing here. Okay, like I said, friends, this is the deepest of dives. I spent hours on this. Was it worth it? I hope so. I hope it's a good listen. But I went through every single one of her videos. I watched them all. I took notes because I wanted to come to my own conclusions, and I also wanted to come from the most informed place for you all. This is probably going to be 2 parts, hopefully, maybe 3. So let's start from the top. Video number 1, Kendra comes in hot, and her claim is this: I fell in love with my psychiatrist, and he knew that, and he kept me for years as a patient until I was brave enough to leave him.
I already have thoughts.
Hold. It's too early. Hold.
Okay.
She wants to discuss what happens when we fall in love with our mental health professionals. There are so many people, but like more specifically men, who are so emotionally dead inside that feel called to go into psychiatry and therapy so that they don't have to feel their feelings, but they can feed off the vulnerability of their mostly female patients. Big swing. Big swing. I actually saw this video before she went viral, like way before. I saw this first video. Yeah, because, you know, a woman being manipulated and potentially abused by a psychiatrist, that is on my feed. Like, of course.
And that horrifically can and does happen.
Oh, it happens all the time. So I was already on the lookout for her. I wanted to hear her story. I think a lot of people did. As I said, flag it already. She likes to assume she knows people's inner thoughts. And this is the start of that. So already she's saying that there are emotionally dead psychiatrists who only go to feed off people's vulnerabilities. They don't have to feel their own feelings. Okay, but hey, maybe she's had an experience.
Well, and I've had my own unfortunate experiences, not with someone who is a psychiatrist, but with people I would term as emotional vampires
Sure, of course.
that do suck the life out of you.
Absolutely.
She's coming in hot.
She's coming in hot. I think that's the takeaway. She is coming in hot.
The verbiage of and he kept me,
Right.
the kept part has bothered me since the beginning, even before
Yes.
things. We'll circle back. But
We'll circle
that
back.
also feels dissonant somehow.
2 things about Kendra is, 1, her word choice is always particular. And 2, she says things like she is writing a novel. She's the main character of her own romance novel. That is the way she describes things, and we'll see this carry on. But let's keep going because we're not even into the series. This is the prep. This is the pre-videos to the
prologue.
video series. Yes. What did I just say about she's writing a book for herself, you know? And she actually is writing a book.
I mean, shocker.
We'll leave that alone. Okay. So in video 2, she says she told him all the time she had a crush and found him attractive, and he would just smile. She calls him the king of plausible deniability. He didn't ever ask if she had a crush, but he didn't do anything when she told him she did.
What's he supposed to do?
So there's a comment on the video before that says, this story is wild. He was fine with that dynamic, meaning the dynamic where she was in love with him. She says the following: he wasn't just fine, he loved it. He had an ethical duty to end the psychiatric relationship. He was a 38-year-old, attractive, smart, extremely successful psychiatrist, but he didn't date. Why? Because he got his emotional needs met feeding off of his patients and getting fantasy supply from them and being seen by them.
How do you know he doesn't date?
That's a great question, Peyton. Why would she know that? This is her psychiatrist. This isn't even counselor. So, quick little info dump for people who are listening. A psychiatrist is dealing with your medications. They are sometimes involved in the diagnosis process, although sometimes a counselor can be too. But they are the ones doling out the meds and then seeing how you are responding to them. So, generally speaking, they're not over 30 minutes. It's like 15 to 30 minutes tops. And they are just asking about your meds and making sure you are okay on said meds. So getting to know your psychiatrist on a personal level is actually very abnormal. Unlikely, abnormal, and slightly frightening. What's interesting here is, again, let's flag, she is absolutely assuming she knows that he doesn't date because he gets his emotional needs met by feeding off of patients. That's a bold claim, again, but maybe she's right. Maybe she has stuff. So we're still with her here, right? We're still listening.
Sure.
She ends the video by saying, I'm really good at seeing people, and he loved the way I saw him. Again, assuming the psychiatrist's feelings.
And assuming how much importance she has in other people's lives.
Thank you. That is a common thread here. Keep that in mind. There is an ego and an air of self-importance that is actually mind-blowing. So
Yeah.
let's go on. Someone asked, did you want him to get rid of you? Yes, yes. That's what they're taught, is the moment that there is romantic feelings, they need to transfer them out. He loved the attention that I gave him too much to do the right thing. There has been research done on this, and there has been commentary from psychiatrists. That is not true. That is 100%
Right.
incorrect. Number one, it definitely wouldn't be the moment it happened. But psychiatrists are not told that they ethically need to stop sessions with someone just because that person is feeling some type of romantic feelings towards them, because transference is so common
Hmm.
with psychiatrists and counselors and their patients. Additionally, if a patient has abandonment issues and or rejection sensitivities,
Hmm.
many psychiatrists have come forward and said that it is seen as potentially dangerous to end their care because you could trigger them, and if anything would reinforce their feelings of abandonment.
Well, and it could be termed patient abandonment,
Right,
which is a very serious situation.
right.
I mean, I have that in my own work where it's something that's taken incredibly seriously, whether it's ending care with a patient before it's ethically appropriate or whether it's just physically not showing up. It's not something to be taken lightly.
And here we're seeing her speak as if she is an expert in psychiatry, and
Yeah.
she flip-flops between wanting to be seen as an expert in psychiatry, which she is not,
Hmm.
clearly, because that's wrong information, or wanting to seem like a novice, where
Hmm.
she doesn't know what's going on. She'd never been to one before. And it really depends on which suits her and which
Hmm.
works for her narrative. So pay attention to that as well. So the next video, she continues to talk about the ethics. She denies having anything wrong psychologically because already people are questioning if she's well. But she also says he diagnosed her with other trauma stressor related disorders, but he did not tell her until a year and a half later. And then makes the claim, but what he did with that diagnosis was recreate attachment bonds and make me addicted to him.
Okay, again, this is a psychiatrist that you see for 30 minutes a month.
Correct.
That is some really intense
Hmm.
psychological juju he is working on.
He's a wizard.
And not to say there aren't terrible people out there that are that way, but that seems surprising if that is in fact the case.
So we get to the next video, and now she is really starting to make bold claims. This
Hmm.
is the first video that she flat out labels him a predatory psychiatrist.
Ooh.
So now he is a predator. There's not just been an ethical violation, there's not just been a boundary crossed. She is saying this man is a predator. Predator.
Predator.
She says these predatory psychiatrists do not ever intend to catch feelings, but hers accidentally caught feelings for her, and she knows he did because he started leaking at the end. So she basically is talking about how, like, yeah, they don't mean to catch feelings because it's actually not good, but mine did for me.
Because I'm so amazing.
And this is the first video where she claims it went both ways. So prior to that, she's kind of painting him as just like a predator, or unethical.
Just like a creep who liked the attention but didn't
Yeah,
really see it going anywhere.
just didn't end care. Like he just didn't stop when he should have, knowing how
Mhm.
she felt. And now in the mix is no, he also felt the same way. So people continue to comment. They're asking her questions. Another question that
Mhm.
comes up is like, why is it unethical? What's unethical about what he's done thus far? Because again, she's making big accusations
Mhm.
and we're not getting too many facts, but she is claiming she's going to tell us the full story. But here she says, what's unethical is that my psychiatrist did not help me work through my feelings. He stayed silent and drank it in. He did nothing to help me work through attachment issues. Quote, that I was in love with someone who couldn't love me back.
again, he's your psychiatrist, not your therapist.
Right. And this is a goalpost shift. So you'll notice she does that as well. Now
Hmm.
she's saying it wasn't unethical. It's not unethical that he didn't drop her immediately. It's unethical that he didn't help her work through said feelings.
Right. And again, and now she's saying that he didn't have feelings for her, but in the previous video, she did.
She gives us a little more information. She says that she went there for ADHD meds. She said that these are all Zoom calls. So this entire love affair that she's talking about was through Zoom over 30-minute sessions once a month. And they were probably 30 minutes max.
Yeah.
In her next video, she continues to elaborate that many broken and wounded men are drawn to psychiatry for access to vulnerability that they don't allow themselves to feel or access. Her next video, she lets out one of her first pieces of evidence, right? Because, again, huge claims, nothing to really back it up thus far. She says proof of whatever was going on is he let me see him every month, even though I only had to see him every 3 months. What?
Okay.
Put a pin in that. So the amount that she's seeing him is allegedly a showcasing of his unethical ways, or perhaps his love of her, whatever she's
Because
claiming.
he needed to see her every month.
Bold claims from Kendra. Also, I still can't get over she saw him once a month for 30 minutes, and this is the love story she built off of that. That is wild. Okay. But again, I don't know. I don't know. So people are already kind of pushing back against her because they're not getting cold hard facts. They're not getting
Hmm.
proof of any inappropriate behavior. And Kendra's response is this. The hard part of the story is he was so good at plausible deniability. He used trauma and things that I had went through in the past and used that against me to groom me to fall in love with him, to give him content for his fantasy. This is the second time she talks about content and like fantasies.
Hmm.
I find this to be an incredibly strange claim because
Hmm.
essentially she's saying she knows that he's having fantasies about what she's doing and using her therapy to fantasize about her. The fact that that was in her head at all shows the assumption and again, the importance she saw in his life that she is assuming that in their interactions, that was his sole goal. Was content for fantasies, which to me seems like she means like content for sexy times with himself.
Well, just the fact, like the phrasing, content.
I have that in my notes later. We can go ahead and talk about it now. But that again speaks to the sense of importance she gave herself. Like, most
Yeah.
people don't view themselves as content, they don't view what they're saying as content. But I think she sees herself in such a grandiose way that,
Hmm.
like, everything she does and says is content for everybody else to consume and enjoy.
Hmm.
And believe me, she does believe they enjoy it.
She's presented this story and situation as her being horribly victimized by a medical professional, especially like a mental health medical professional that took advantage of her. And if it were me talking about a therapist being a creep to me, I wouldn't talk about it in such a positive light.
That is a huge issue with Kendra.
And not a way to not trying to police the way people talk about things that have happened to them, but it is odd to me that the way she's framing this as such an exciting, interesting thing.
Right. One of her worst traumas, allegedly.
Even if we're believing what happened, like it, why is that how, I don't know.
No, I totally hear you. And I think we're both trying to tread lightly because we're trying not to victim blame.
Hmm.
Because, people tell their stories different ways, like especially right after trauma, like people respond
Yeah.
really differently. That's why you can see absolute victims, on the news report, like laughing or smiling. And it's because of, this trauma response, right?
Hmm.
So there is no right way to respond to trauma.
Mm-mm.
But what's interesting and what people who were watching really noticed was she really seems to enjoy telling this story. She
Mhm.
laughs a lot.
Smiling a lot.
She smiles a lot. She laughs a lot. She seems very pleased with herself at certain
Hmm.
things she said. But there is quite a joy in the way she tells this story, and even like a fondness to the way she reflects on their interaction,
Yeah.
which was at this point not a huge, like it wasn't a huge red flag, but people were kind of noticing
We're just, huh, that's different.
the final preamble video, the prequel. She talks about narcissistic traits of her psychiatrist. And at first she's like, I don't want to say he's a narcissist because it's overused. She says he has a God complex. Okay. Peyton, would you like to guess what her proof of this is?
He told her he has a God complex.
You know what? That would be what you would think. That somewhere he would have actually verbally given her any sign of this, correct?
Hmm.
Wrong. Why? Because other psychiatrists have to transfer their patients out, but he didn't. Essentially, he thinks he's better than other psychiatrists.
Because he was trying to provide her with a higher quality of care.
So him not immediately transferring her out is not only unethical, is not only the proof, but also makes him have a God complex. And she says this too. She says, he would also make me feel crazy when I tried to name the tension and dynamic that he himself manufactured and built. And he would rage at me and tell me that I was wrong. Here's my note that I wrote as I was starting to get agitated. You're going to hear more and more of my notes as I'm getting frustrated. My note says this: who's gaslighting here? Kendra is telling her psychiatrist that they have an inappropriate dynamic and that they like each other. He is saying no. So who is forcing a narrative here? Who thinks
Hmm.
they know better and who is crossing boundaries?
Hmm.
She's saying, you like me. And he's saying, no, I don't. Okay. Part 1. Kendra decides that she needs to go back on ADHD meds. She says she Googled psychiatry and just picked at random, essentially, and had her first 90-minute Zoom intake.
Hmm.
So this is like the one time that it's going to be 90 minutes. It's normally not.
Which makes sense because this is where they're getting all of your history. Honestly, I feel like intakes could take more than 90 minutes, but
Right.
that's pretty standard.
Pretty standard. She says, he's my age and pretty attractive. Part 2. She says, I've had a lot of couch time and therapy. So she knows what's up, essentially. And she says she trusted him. She talked about her trauma, her daddy issues, her 6 months of being sober. She talked about her substance use, and he nodded. Psychiatrists are good at pretending to listen. Flag the I know what people are thinking thing. How do you know that he wasn't listening to you? She says she felt seen. She said, I don't want stimulants because she had been on them before.
Which
And
is fair.
right, totally fair. And he listened to that and prescribed her something else.
Lovely.
That is lovely. That a psychiatrist who listens and you say, I don't like this specific type of med. Okay, let me accommodate for you.
Hmm.
Okay. Part 3. She starts off by admitting she's never been to a psychiatrist and didn't know how psychiatry worked.
But she's had a lot of couch time.
I know. My note says Kendra is an expert when condemning, but a novice when she needs to have excuses. She then says he made her feel like a friend and she loved the attention.
Oh, so he built rapport with his patient.
Just standard
What a
procedure.
monster.
Get him out of here. By the third session, she asked to call him by his first name. My note says, oh.
Hey, that might be a boundary that someone is testing.
Yes, it might be a boundary. Also, that's fucking crazy. I shouldn't say that, but also to me, that's crazy. I've had multiple psychiatrists over the years. I would never be like, hey, Greg, you mind if I call you Greg? Like, what?
Only if they offered it first.
Right. So she
Hmm.
asked to call him by his first name, and she
Hmm.
laughs as she says he's Pakistani. So when she said his first name, she said it wrong.
I'm an ignorant white woman.
I mean, she's really laughing. Like she
Yeah.
genuinely finds it really funny. Like,
Hmm.
why is it so funny that a
To
man whose name is
mispronounce a name.
Pakistani to mispronounce that?
It's not.
It's not
And
funny.
and why mention that?
Why even mention that he's
Yeah.
Pakistani? Like knowing how
Hmm.
much racism exists in the world, knowing, and this is something so many people have commented on, but
Hmm.
the
General climate right now.
knowing the general climate, knowing how racism is like on the rise and raging and how people are taking action due to racism and acts of
Hmm.
violence due to racism, but also like knowing the fucking hoops and like all the blockades that people of color have to get through
Hmm.
just to even get close to the advantages and privileges and access that white people have. She could have just said I said his name wrong,
Hmm.
but she didn't. Continuing on, she says he pronounces his name correctly and says, yes, of course you can call him by his first name. So because he says, of course you can, Kendra says this. He seemed so smug and happy with himself. And I know that that's because this was his first sign that him pretending like we're friends was working.
How do you know that?
Great question, Peyton. Wonderful question. We're inside his mind yet again.
I thought he was the psychiatrist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And also, he's smug about you asking to cross a boundary. He's smug about you blurring boundaries.
He's
Like,
luring her in.
yeah, this is the first of many cases you will see where Kendra blames him for something she does
Hmm.
and basically acts like he made me do it or he wanted it. Like, which is like my least favorite fucking thing in the world to hear
Hmm.
is somebody to be like, well, they wanted it. But that's kind of what she says over and over and over that if she crossed a boundary, he was the one that wanted it to happen. So,
He made that happen.
yeah, flag that because this, remember the predatory behavior I was talking about? Flag that.
Hmm.
Again, if this was a man of color telling the story about a woman psychiatrist, we would not be having this conversation. Like, probably the police would be at his door, to be honest with you. Okay, now
Yep.
Kendra goes on. Speaking of the fact that she asked to call him by his first name, she says, to be fair to me, because of course we need to be fair to Kendra, I didn't know that this was weird. And then quickly she contradicts herself and says, I mean, I did know that. I did it with all my other doctors. So she knows it's weird to call a doctor by their first name. So
Yeah, so she's just
she says that.
lying.
And she says it just shows that boundaries were being blurred.
By you.
Thank you. My note says Kendra crosses a boundary, but her doctor is the villain.
How dare he acquiesce to her request?
She continues saying boundaries were being blurred, and he liked that. And then he started, quote unquote, turning up the volume on them being friendly. Which we will talk often about the dial being turned and never hear how, in fact, the dial did turn.
Hmm.
The first 6 sessions, he asked about bowels, bladder, and appetite. Any thoughts of harm? Which is like classic medicine questions, right?
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if there's any side effects.
Yeah, very standard, very appropriate.
When the sixth session happened and the chemistry was already there, she says that he says, I have to ask this because it's a special interest of mine, but is there any thoughts of harm? Like I was special to him.
That's not what that means. That's not what that means. Mm-mm. You are not the special interest. Being concerned about his patients harming themselves
Mm-hmm.
is of special interest to him.
And then she says, and he didn't ask me a clinical question again. Like, okay, it's so crazy for someone to say they have a special interest for your thought to be, so I am your interest and I am special. That
Yeah.
is the most self-centered way of hearing that. Ugh. And then she says he never asked a clinical question again. It's like, yeah, because at that point you had been taking the same med at the same dose.
Yeah, it had been firmly established you were having no negative side effects that he was concerned about.
Right. So he didn't have to keep asking. Video 4. He was telling me all about his successes, and he was really good at listening. He's a Pisces, right? I'm
How
sorry.
do you know he's a Pisces? How do you know his birthday?
You have to know someone's exact birthday to know their sign. Why do you know your psychiatrist's sign? The sign is stop. Stop doing what you're doing.
I do not know a single one of my medical practitioners' birthdays, nor should I.
You don't know their signs, but your sign.
I have a vague inkling of when my therapist's wedding anniversary is because she took 2 weeks off to get married during the course of me being her patient. I think it's in the summer. I don't know.
My gynecologist is an Aquarius. Like, what?
Samesies.
It's crazy. But hey, I'm also a Pisces, so maybe I'm diving too deep into this. Okay,
Oh, you little fish.
my little fishy fish. Okay, so she says he's a Pisces, right? So of course he was able to go deep with my feelings, but that doesn't mean he wasn't extracting from them. Flag on the play. I thought we said that your psychiatrist wasn't listening. So we've gone from he's dead inside and he's
Hmm.
not listening at all
Hmm.
to he's listening so intently that he's able to absorb the information and then weaponize it. Which is it, Ken? Draw?
Whichever one suits her narrative.
Oh, and speaking of that, in this video, she also says that she begged him to let her see him every week. Remember a couple minutes ago, maybe an hour ago at this point, where I said she claimed that part of what was unethical was the fact that he wanted to see her once a month, even though he could see her every couple of months? Well, ends up, she was begging him to see her every week.
Well, and if he was a predator who was waiting for her boundaries to fall so he could slip right in, wouldn't
Mhm.
that be the perfect opportunity to get more of that feed, that sweet, sweet feed?
Mm-hmm. That sounds gross.
You think someone else was feeding off of this relationship?
Yes, that's an interesting observation. So she says that she didn't like her therapist at the time. She wanted to use him essentially as a therapist, which again, crossing boundaries, inappropriate. You are abusing a relationship. You cannot make your psychiatrist be a therapist. Her psychiatrist would not agree to her every week
Oh
demand.
yeah, no,
So once a month seems to be, I don't know, a compromise, would you say?
yeah.
So she ends up getting a new therapist. Now, I'm going to talk about this therapist again because I think it showcases how Kendra sees the world.
Hmm.
So now she has a 75-year-old PhD therapist, which she every time will say how old this woman is and what her degree is,
And that she's a woman.
and that
Very
she's a
important.
woman. Those are things that always go together. Just like Kendra's in love with her psychiatrist, the therapist is 75 years old with a PhD. Kendra says, I told my therapist how obsessed I was with my psychiatrist, and she didn't do anything about it. She was interested. She loved stories about my dating life, and she was getting supply from me in her own way. So now, Kendra's not only saying her psychiatrist is using her as supply, which is a very clear, like, narcissistic kind of term.
Hmm.
She also says that her therapist is. You know what it's giving? It's giving guy at the strip clubs who thinks the dancer is in love with him.
Yep.
Like all of these people who are giving her time and attention, she assumes are absolutely infatuated with her and every story she's telling.
And it's very interesting to me that somebody who, from one of her very early videos, said she doesn't like to use the word narcissist because it's overused, sure loves using the verbiage and terms that surrounds a narcissist.
Saying it without saying it. I don't want the
Like,
weight of calling him a narcissist,
hmm.
but I would like the dire weight of what these terms mean. I
Hmm.
would like to use these terms to show how extreme he is.
Well, just like the idea that both her psychiatrist and her therapist are obsessed with her and getting feed off of her because they're just listening so intently. You mean the job that you pay them to do?
Because again, that is what she's using as her sign that they're feeding
Yeah.
off her is listening and quote unquote enjoying it, which again is her assuming how they feel about what she says.
Right. It could just be they're trying to create a positive therapeutic relationship with you,
Hmm.
so they're not, making a horrible scowly face at you.
Right. So this is Peyton, this is the video where she drops his name.
Oh, no.
Yes, it is really bad. Um, Now he has like a traditionally Pakistani name.
Hmm.
And because of that, it is easily searchable as he is practicing in the US. So
Right.
it's easy to find him, essentially. She really tries to play off that, like, it's a first name, who cares? But it's not like John. You know, when there's the name of John, there's a lot of Johns out there, right? But this is not as traditional of a name in the US.
It's not a generic white boy name.
Exactly. It's not a generic white boy name. That's what it
Yeah, that
is.
our, Anglo-Saxon patriarchal society has deemed average.
Just to get behind the curtain as someone who makes videos, all of Kendra's videos have subtitles. His name is spelled correctly in the subtitle. Yes.
No.
And I will tell you right
No.
here, no offense, TikTok, but their subtitle capabilities aren't always the best, and certainly not with names.
No.
They constantly misspell everything. I have not personally caught a single error in any of her subtitles, and the fact that the name was spelled correctly, I fully believe she went in and messed with that subtitle. So it wasn't just a slip up in a post. It was a slip up, or I don't think it was a slip up. Let me be clear. She said
Yeah.
his name, she put the subtitle of his name, she posted the video. And to
Oh my.
me, that is sick. She guaranteed that not only the name got out, but it got out spelled correctly.
And she kept going on in all these videos saying, "Guys, I don't want to say his name. I don't want him to get
Yes,
doxxed. I don't want that to happen."
Peyton's winking for the listeners.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It is my opinion that that is doxing. If you give the name of someone, their profession,
And
and
enough identifiable information about yourself so that they can locate that person
their
geographically.
nationality too,
Yeah.
to me, that's doxing. People can find him. And they have, to be clear. So, video 5. She begins to talk about intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes he was warm and let her in. Others, he was cold, and this made her work harder in the next session, and it started the addiction, and he knew exactly what he was doing.
I know you guys can't see me, but the amount of eye rolls that just happened in the last 30 seconds.
Now, this is where I am seeing just how self-centered Kendra's world is.
Mm-hmm.
Because to her, it's not that he's having a bad day some days. It's not that he's having a different mood. It's that this mood has to be about her. And if he's cold with her, it has to be to manipulate her because
Mm-hmm.
he wants her addicted. Kendra has to be special, is my note.
Well, and it's not, and it's to a level that's so extreme. Because I mean, I know I've made incorrect assumptions about,
Sure.
somebody is a little bit colder to me or a little bit shorter with me, and my assumption isn't that they're trying to bait me into trying harder. It's like, ooh, man, I hope I didn't do anything to bother them. I'll give them some space.
Well, that's the thing, right? I think a lot of people assume intent. I'm not saying that's abnormal, but I think most people assume intent in ways that reflect poorly on themselves. Like,
Hmm.
oh, they must be mad at me. I must have done something wrong.
I've never been, oh, they're being cold because they're obsessed with me and they're trying to draw me back in.
The predatory vibe again is how
Hmm.
Kendra takes every sign of rejection and every boundary, every no, and turns it into a sign that he wants her.
Yeah.
So this is a great
Hmm.
example. If he's cold, it's because he's trying to make me addicted.
And again, if the genders were reversed, it would be a Lifetime movie.
Yes, it would. I'm telling you, it would not be this many parts. It would already be jail. So let's get into one of the wildest parts of her story.
And let's go.
She tells us a tale. In January of 2024, she was hit by another car. Now, what's weird is it kind of sounds like she almost made it sound like she's walking. I do think she was in a vehicle. I think it was two cars hitting each other.
Yeah, it is a little vague, but
I
I
was
think it
like,
was
Kendra, were
her
you
car.
hit walking? Like, girl. She says that this happened the night before her appointment. She had bruising on her abdomen and a perforated eardrum. And her provider at the urgent care said that she needed to go to the ER because she might have internal bleeding. But Kendra had a psychiatrist appointment, so she wanted to go. She was looking forward to it. She looks back and says, "Wow, I put my own life under seeing him." She says she showed up and told him, and he didn't stop the appointment. He let her continue. She said, "Most of my sessions were me pouring myself out about how much I loved him and appreciated him because he was so good at intermittent reinforcement. I got warmth that appointment." Okay, first off, she got hit by a car. She's saying the person at the urgent care is like, "You need to go to the hospital." And instead, she stays for the Zoom.
And somehow he did that.
And that's his fault. That's
Hmm.
his fault. He should have she says that he should have stopped the call and sent her to the, which I'm like, I don't think he's allowed to do that. Can he say, "We're stopping the session right now. You have to go to the hospital"? I feel like it's up to the person's discretion.
I mean, I don't know that it's a hard and fast rule, but I do think he'd be within his scope to say, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't continue this session. I think you are having a medical emergency."
He could, yes, he
But
could.
no, I don't think that is a requirement. I mean, if she was bleeding before
Right.
him on the Zoom call, or if she came staggering into the office with a broken leg, then yeah, I think he would call an ambulance.
Right. I would assume, since we're all assuming here,
Hmm.
I would assume that he didn't think it was that serious or that she was okay if she gets on the Zoom call.
Well,
Like,
and the other thing is, if it's a Zoom call, you're only seeing somebody from maybe the collarbone up,
right.
maybe elbows up, depending on the framing. You're not going to be able to see that.
Well, and I also think, I mean, she says I told him, I told him that that had happened. But like, did she say it seriously? Did she say it laughing? Like, was she? Because that's kind of her attitude when she says the way that they were in session is like, I could absolutely see her being like, "Oh, well, I could be internally bleeding, but I wanted to make sure I came here." Like, I could totally see that.
And I could also see a psychiatrist keeping their patient who was saying things like that for their full appointment to make sure there weren't any signs of any mental health distress.
Sure, that's a good point too.
That might be worth like sitting with that patient a little bit longer just to see if like, are we
Where they're at.
good?
Yeah,
Are
where are
you
you at?
okay?
Yeah, are you okay? Yeah, mentally? Are you
Yeah.
good? What's happening here? It's also like, yeah, I'm sure he did give you warmth. You just said you got in a car accident.
Yeah, that's a normal human response.
Mm-hmm. You would think. Again, this is another case of her pushing a boundary or her doing something extreme and it being his fault for not stopping her the right way or the way she thinks he should have.
I think, again, making an assumption, but I don't think it's that much of a leap. I think if he had ended the call and said, "Hey, you should really get to the doctor. I get yourself checked out and I'll see you next month."
Right.
I think that would have been turned around. I was like, he cares about me so much. He had to make sure I made it to the emergency
Right.
room. He stopped the whole session just to take care of me.
Also, I would like to point out that she does not mention that she did, in fact, have any internal bleeding or anything serious going on.
No.
I believe that if she did, she would have said that. Like, "And I did have internal bleeding and he did nothing." That doesn't come up. So
Yeah.
this is all based off of she could have had internal bleeding and was recommended to get checked out.
Hmm.
Not that she was actually injured.
Hmm.
But don't worry, Peyton, because part 6 comes
Oh,
and she's still on this topic. She starts this video with the most dramatic intro. "After I risked my life to see him." What? You did not risk your life to see him.
she uses the most inflammatory, extreme
Yes,
romance novel book talk language.
100%. It is book talk to the max. Truly, like, you know what? She probably could have a career in writing these type of books because she has a skill for it. It's just completely inappropriate in this setting.
Hmm.
The other thing is people are only seeing like bits and pieces of this. So
Hmm.
like that's what's scary, I guess, is
Hmm.
because if you just caught this part, all you hear is "after I risked my life to see him," like, "Oh my God, that's dire, that's scary. How could he not care?" But you may have missed the video before where she's like, "Oh, they said I maybe should go."
I mean, and it may have been an emergency, and it may have just been like, well, we don't have the imaging machine here, so we can't be
Right.
sure you're not bleeding internally. You should probably go get it checked.
Yeah, and like liability wise, yeah, they
Yeah.
of course they don't have the equipment for it.
Well, because the other thing is, if it was an emergency, they would have sent her in an ambulance.
Damn, Peyton. You're right. Girl, you right.
They would have been liable.
Right.
The urgent care. And maybe the only way they get around that is if a patient were to sign something saying they were leaving AMA, which means against medical advice. But she
Right.
would have said that because that would have made the story better. Like,
Right.
and I left the urgent care after going against medical advice. I signed the form so I could see him again.
Yeah, because then we could also hate on that urgent care worker.
Yeah.
Another medical industry professional that's wronged her. I did not catch that, and you were so right. And additionally, they felt like she could drive. They let her go, whatever,
Yeah, they let her walk
regardless.
out
They let her,
at the very least.
at the very least, they let her leave. Kendra goes on now. This is after she risked her life to see him.
Of
He
course.
started turning up the intimacy. So
Again,
he,
turning it up.
what does this mean?
Or he's just doing his job and trying to help you understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, technically, they should turn up the intimacy in some ways on your end. Like, you should feel like you can give intimate details of your life.
Again, I'm not trying to police the way people who are victims talk about things,
Right,
but like turning up the intimacy.
right, right,
Like, if it were me, I don't know that I would use that phrasing. I might say something advancing the cycle of abuse.
right, right.
Like she
It's an
used,
interesting choice.
yeah, it's just, yes.
It's notable. It's noted. The things she uses are notable, and also when she continuously uses like metaphors and symbols, it also lacks specificity. Like it gives across a feeling without ever having to be specific as to what the details are. Which
Oh, it gives the
girl,
feeling without any grounding or basis underneath it.
that's right. He started turning up the intimacy, but knew the professional lines like the back of his hand. He would comment on my appearance, but not compliment. My note is this is apparently intimacy. Like, I will comment, but not compliment. She goes on to say some of the very intimate things that he said were, you curled your hair, you're wearing glasses.
Oh no.
And she says, and of course, I felt seen. My note, girl, what? Like, I mean, quite literally, you were seen. Like, he has eyes and he saw that there was a change. I have,
Perceived your physical form.
yeah, I have to tell you right now, Peyton, if that is like intimacy, someone being in love with you, my therapist fucking loves me because she will bring up the fact that I cut my hair or I dyed my hair or like I wear my glasses or I'm wearing my contacts. She brings like it's just noticing a change, okay? That's their
Well,
job.
and especially for a psychiatrist, a physical change could be a symptom of
Yes.
like an issue with medication or a issue with your mental health. Um, I know I saw a lot of people stitching that video talking about like, yeah, just like how my therapist pointed out when I got bangs, and that was the first sign.
When I shaved my head.
Well, there's another one where she's like, I remember the one time I got bangs, and my therapist like, so you have bangs.
How are we?
And I said, "Oh, my hair was just really fried, so I decided to cut off the dead stuff. I'm not spiraling." He's like, "Oh, very good."
Very good. Moving on.
Also, that's just a basic way to make conversation with someone.
It's the least intimate way to talk to somebody. Like just let me comment on something of your appearance. And like again, she this is her whole thing of using him being professional to say he was being unprofessional. He's not crossing boundaries, which showcases that he's a boundary crosser.
He knows how far to go without going too
Which
far.
is like, so he didn't cross a boundary, is what we're saying. Anyways, let's keep going. So she says, I didn't realize at the time that he had feelings for me too.
Did he?
We'll find out. Or will we? I don't know. She says that at the okay, Peyton, I'm losing it. So this is where in my notes, and we'll be ending this episode soon because I am getting so fried by this what's going on with Kendra. So this is the point at which my notes they're getting wild. I am just writing all of these side notes to myself like, girl, what? Because it's getting so outlandish. So I just need you to think about this.
Okay.
She's on a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
She has glasses on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which by the way, she's been wearing this whole time. She's worn this every single video up until this point. So she's wearing these glasses. She's on a Zoom call. And he says, oh, you're wearing glasses. What does Kendra do, Peyton?
I don't know what happens next.
I'll tell you. She runs and grabs her other glasses because she has to immediately show him all her glasses. Which again, I think about me and the amount of money, like the amount of money I pay for my psychiatrist, that time is fucking, I was gonna say priceless, but it actually has a steep price.
It's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, it's valuable. Like I am not wasting it doing a fashion show of my glasses. Like that's what?
Also, what a weird, childish thing.
Yes.
Like, "Ooh, let me show you more."
Yeah, again, just not the best use of either of their time. So she shows him both of her glasses, and he says, I prefer turtle shell glasses. And this is where I said, she's been wearing tortoise shell glasses in all her videos. It is not turtle shell, it's tortoise. Tortoise shell glasses, okay? Let me just, Kendra, note to you, just so you know. Plot twists, Peyton. People found, because she doxed him, in my opinion, people found this guy and they found his professional photo. Guess what? He wears tortoiseshell glasses. So
What?
it's most likely he was talking about himself.
Mhm.
I prefer tortoiseshell glasses.
The ones that are currently on my face.
The ones he wears. And that he was not, in fact, talking about Kendra. And she admits in this video that she's wearing the glasses in this whole saga of videos because they're quote unquote his favorite glasses.
And he's probably watching.
And they're for him, essentially.
Which again, if this man is a predator who victimized you, what are you doing?
Girl, my note literally says, what? Question mark. I thought he was a predator. If this man is a predator, why are you tailoring yourself to his likings and teeing yourself up as bait? Like, this is again where it's very confusing because she's saying one thing and then she's behaving entirely different. She's actively admitting to trying to entice him. And also a pretty good slip that she wants him to see this. Big slip there, in my opinion. Like, maybe there's a reason she's doing this. That is not what she's saying. I just can't. I've made a lot of videos about men who have wronged me. I cannot imagine saying, and I did my hair like this because that's how he liked it. Like, oh.
The only thing I could think of is if it was something where you were trying to like reclaim something that you liked for yourself and that they liked too and they ruined it for you.
Didn't like maybe made you. Yeah. I agree. In this case, it's weird. It feels odd. It feels like an odd choice.
It feels real icky.
Feels icky. And again, talking about him saying, I prefer tortoiseshell glasses. Okay. She says, it was little inappropriate things like that.
Is the inappropriate comment with us in the room?
No, but 2 sets of tortoiseshell glasses are. Like, they're both just sitting there with their glasses. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, this is still in the same video. I'm going to finish this one out and then we'll have to do part 2 next week because this has been wild, friends.
It's too much.
It's too much. I mentally cannot withstand the weight of this. So she talks about her best friend who's an emergency medicine physician because Kendra only deals with people in the medical field, apparently.
Which is such a weird way to say that.
I know. I've never heard that phrasing, an emergency medicine physician. And she said, this is what her friend said, Kendra, one of these days, your psychiatrist is going to say, Kendra, I can't be your psychiatrist. I want to be with you so bad.
Ew.
In all caps and very frightening writing, I wrote, this is what I'm talking about. Unreliable narrators and a community that supports these bad behaviors. Kendra surrounding herself with people who are validating this harmful belief. Like, I don't know her friend. I don't know this emergency medicine physician. But if my friend was saying that their psychiatrist was in love with them, one, I would be questioning my friend because transference is real. It happens all the time. And it's a questionable statement. But 2, I would not be like suggesting they date. Why would you want your friend to be with a psychiatrist who
treated them?
Who falls for them while they're in their care? Yeah, she's like, he'll have to cut you off and then give you the 2 years and then you'll date.
Out of whose ass did they pull that 2 years thing?
I don't know. That's the ethical time, according to Kendra.
Because she is the expert, except when she's not.
Except when she's a novice and she doesn't know what's happening, so you can't blame her for doing weird things.
Well, and the other thing is I like I could see if it was my friend coming to me and saying that like their therapist or psychiatrist was in love with them. I could see myself saying it sarcastically, like, "Oh, well, he, I wouldn't be surprised if one day he said he was in love with you. Yeah, crazy, crazy woman."
I don't think we're friends anymore. Get out of my emergency room.
It has happened before where, like you said, people have transference or
Sure.
like people have fallen in love with medical professionals or health professionals
Hmm.
or, it's not, obviously it's not unheard of, but it's not
Right.
something anybody encourages.
Well, apparently Kendra's friend does. And it's wild enough that that conversation happened. Everything about that's wild to me. Like every part of it, every aspect of it, everything. But what's even more wild, Peyton, is she goes into her psychiatrist appointment and tells her psychiatrist that her friend said that. So she says to her psychiatrist, "Oh, yeah, my friend said that you're going to be in love with me and that you're going to have to like cancel my care so that you can be with me in 2 years." She says this to his face,
Because Kendra is irresistible.
apparently.
Every man will fall in love with her, and
Every woman will want to be her. So she says, "I told him she said that, and he was silent. He didn't disagree or agree. Weaponized neutrality was his favorite game to play."
that, wh whose ass did she pull that phrase out of?
She loves a buzzword. Kendra's all about the buzzwords. But also, he's a fucking psychiatrist. Neutrality is his job.
Literally.
Literally, he has to be neutral. That's his role. That's his job. He listens to what you say.
Without judgment.
What is he supposed to say? He's supposed to flat out reject you
Or he's supposed to say, "Oh, you know what? You're right. I've been fighting it for too long.
over Zoom.
Take me, Kendra, through the Zoom."
It's wild. And again, like so many psychiatrists have chimed in about this and said, like, no, if someone has rejection sensitivity, which she talks about having, and somebody has abandonment issues, which she has, along with relationship trauma, and she discusses this, a psychiatrist outright rejecting you in session would be a very dangerous move.
Hmm.
Kendra said that she thought he should have said, "This is inappropriate. Let's change the subject." That's what he should have done, says Kendra.
So you knew it was inappropriate and you did it anyway.
I think you'll see a common theme of that, Peyton. This is only the start of the wild things that Kendra likes to do in her sessions, and we have not even gotten to her in-person sessions.
Oh, I forgot about that. I'll save my thoughts for when we get to it. We'll have to save that for the next one.
We'll save that for the next time because we just wrapped up part 6 of the series, and by the end, hold on, I'm scrolling. There's like 24 or 25.
Oh my God, we're
I
gonna have to
know.
go so much faster in this next episode.
This next episode, we're going to cruise through these Kendra videos, but I think it's good. We have a really good baseline now of who
Mhm.
she is, what she's setting up, how she sees things,
Whew.
and it only gets worse from here, friends. So thank you, Peyton, for joining me.
Oh, it's been terrible.
Sorry.
The
I
comedy's
know.
been great, but this woman.
The content is not great.
I'm not feeding off of this content. Thank you very much.
Well, that is not weaponized neutrality.